Let's do this in two different ways to find the domain and range of a function. The first way is usually the easiest, and that is to graph this function. And there's tons of websites out there that can help you graph, or your graphing calculator if you have one. But let's graph the function. The graph of the function looks something like this. And it's following a horizontal asymptote up here because it never quite reaches the line y equals 3. To be sure, you might want to expand your calculator view and make sure it keeps going, but it is going to be an asymptote here. It never reaches the line y equals 3. And there's a reason for that. It's because this fraction is being raised to the x plus 4 power. So as you keep plugging in bigger and bigger numbers for x, you're raising 3/5 to an even larger and larger power. But a decimal number, less than 1 but greater than 0, being raised to a larger and larger power, it keeps getting smaller. If you were to do 3/5 is 0.6. There's 0.6 times 0.6 is 0.36. Times another 0.6 is an even smaller decimal. So this number just keeps shrinking as x gets bigger. So this gets closer and closer to 0. 0 plus 3 gives you something relatively close to 3. So that's why we have an asymptote at y equals 3. And then following what's happening over here, we never stop getting further down the negatives. There's no limit to what value we can plug in for negative x's because negative exponents are fine. But if you keep plugging in a bigger and bigger negative exponent, -4 becomes a larger number. And so these numbers never stop. We have no limit to how low we can go, but we said how high we can go is y equals 3. So the range is the values that we can possibly get out for y. And we saw that y has to be less than 3. It never quite reaches 3. But y can be anything less than 3. It never had an end. The y values, you could get y equals -1, y equals -2, y equals -3, -4, -5, -6, -7. The line's going to keep going down infinitely. So this represents our range. Everything less than 3. The domain represents all the values for x that can possibly be put into the function without breaking any math rules. And usually what we're looking for is taking the square root of a negative or dividing by 0. And the only place where you can plug in an x is up here in the function. You're not going to divide by 0 by plugging in anything for x. You're not going to be taking the square root of negatives. Anything can go in for x. So the domain is all real numbers. X is an element of the real number set is sometimes how we say that.